part 3 of the seatbelt mountings, and what I've done is I've finalised the position of the driver's seat, put some structure in place, and I'm just fine-tuning the last few details on the seatbelt position, the upper seatbelt position that will keep the belt nicely on the shoulder. So without further ado, let me show you what I've been doing. So the first thing I've decided upon is the way to extend the support underneath the car. So I decided to go under the car with this extra brace, so that if there was a rear impact, then that piece there would be against a structural cross member going across the body tub. So, and if anything, that would go down and away from the driver's seat. So I thought that was important, so I'll obviously do the same on the other side. So when we get round to the back here, what I decided to do was to plate up here. So there's a bigger plate, it's a 5mm plate here to support the rear of the back of the car where the body mount. So that's the rearmost body mount. And what I've done is I just need to tidy this up, basically just a few big tacks, but that's a 5mm plate to bolster that up there, to give it some extra strength, and when the body comes off, that will be cleaned up and welded all round. So that plate there, as you can see, gives the extra support for this. So at the minute it's just been welded on across the top there, so that's nicely welded, and down the side. So I will tidy that up a little bit before I finish. So that's the other end of that box section. So that's 60 by 30 by 3mm box section, and that's welded across there. So that's not going anywhere. So now what I can do, I can concentrate on how I'm going to mount the post behind the seats. So if you've seen this is the cruciform rear bulkhead there. And what I've done, I've just put a piece of board on there just to replicate what that'll be like once it's boarded off, and I shall know how much room I've got for my seat belts, or rather my seat belt inertia reel. So I've made a little piece of board just to cover the steel frame, bulkhead frame. So that's in place. I'm just going to put a bit of clean cloth over here just to keep the seatbelt clean. And what I've done is I've made a wooden seatbelt support frame. So basically got some wood. It's much easier to cut than steel. Put a lot of holes in for different positions. Drilled the clearance holes and used the bolt to cut a thread in the wood, so that bolts up quite nice and tightly, as that is there, and it's good enough for mocking things up. So got the inertia reel on here. This one needs to be mounted vertically, and then the problematic part was this here, which is, because there's no B post on this car, I've had to create this kind of support here to give me a new B-post, if you like. So what this is going to do, this is going to mount in here, and I can see I've got some clearance there between this front face of the inertia reel unit, between that, so that will sit quite closely in there and just clear the board which will cover the bulkhead. So that I can sit that there, and I can move that in, and it kind of sits inboard of this and clear. So you actually need some clearance for the belt. So the belt will be clear of that, and it will pass through there, and then the top part here, which will pivot, which I think I'm going to cut and make that flat now, that gives me the position for the belt, for the belt shoulder location. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut a hole in the fiberglass here, so I can drop this through in the right position and position it this way, fore and aft. And once I'm happy with that position, then I'll be able to cut the box section steel, which is 40mm by 40mm by 3mm. I can cut that and make my steel post. The other thing is I've reduced the height of it somewhat, so it's not as high as it was before, but nevertheless it does go nicely over your shoulder, and the inertia reel, resistance of the inertia reel, keeps it nicely on your shoulder. So I'm on the final upper mount position, and I've just trimmed off, that was at an angle before, I've just cut that off flat. I'm just going to finish it off. Because wood is far easier to manage than metal, so that's fairly flat now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reposition the hole in here. It could be slightly out of position to where it needs to be, but I just want to put it on vertically, so it's at a slight angle at the moment. So I'm going to reinstate that vertically, and then I'm going to mount the seat belt upper shoulder position, and I'll just double check to make sure everything's fine. Seems to be okay. I think it's all to do with the angle of the belt being nicely across the chest and over the shoulder, and where that is positioned is just keeping it in check so that it doesn't keep sliding off your shoulder. So that's the last thing you want. You know, when you're moving around the car, not there's much space to move, but yeah. Right, I think we'll go with that. Now, just point out this. That is something I robbed out of the kitchen. It's a clip basically to keep, it goes around your loaf of bread, around your plastic bag, keeps things nice and fresh. And if you clip it on your seat belt, it doesn't damage the belt, and it also stops it fully retracting, which has been a pain. You want it to retract properly when it's in position, but when you're trying to set up the seatbelt position, you obviously don't want it to keep retracting all the time. So that has been very useful. So the seat's in position, bolted rigidly to the chassis. The lap part of the belt comes across underneath the diagonal, which is how it should be. That comes up to the shoulder position on top of the wooden post. So I'm happy with the wooden post now. I've made a hole in the floor there, so that's now sitting on top of the steel work, and I'm happy with the position of that. There's enough clearance behind to get my finger between the inertia reel unit and the board that will cover that, and the folding hood frame passes quite nicely. That just needs to be fraction over there like that. And the folding hood frame passes over quite nicely. That's it. So I think we're good to go with that.
3 days later.
So this is a little look at what will be the final solution for the seat belts. Some people might think, well, why didn't I come off this point here, which is one of the anchor points with the inertia reel unit, because you can bolt them there, but when the seat is fully back, it's right up against the bulkhead, which is why the bulkhead has got an angle on it so that the seat can actually lean back. So that wouldn't have been an option. So the seat is fully back there. I'll just pause this and show you. So there you go. You can see that the seat would have hit the inertia reel unit, so it wouldn't have been able to have gone back as far as it currently is. So legroom would have been an issue in the car. So what does that leave us? It leaves us with completely unintentional, but it's ended up being quite a nice little solution, really. So the threaded there it is. That threaded boss there will be where the seatbelt inertia reel unit mounts, and effectively it's going to be mounted inside a little box. So it'll be completely covered and hidden, which again was unintentional, but it's just how it's turned out. But I had to keep it in a vertical orientation, and it'll be hidden out the way so it won't interfere with any luggage that I want to carry, because this front bulkhead here, that will be covered as well. So you'll have to remove the bulkhead panel to get to the seatbelt units, but they're very low maintenance anyway. So yeah, pretty pleased with the way this is turning out. So you can see we're very nearly there with the seat belts now, and hopefully the second side is going to be a lot quicker, because I can just copy and repeat across on the other side of the car. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but I'm pretty pleased with what we've got so far. So hope this has helped, and I hope it inspires you with some ideas when creating the seatbelt mountings in your car. So stay tuned, because there's plenty more to come.